There are some haters who will cut their nose if it means that some of the blood will spill over on you. There's an old saying that goes, don't cut your nose to spite your face. And we're going to talk about that today. Welcome to the Cassandra Mack channel, where we deal with life's dilemmas and sidestepping drama through a biblical lens. So this subject came up because I had a coaching session. We'll call my coaching client Jane. That's not her real name. So Jane is getting married, and she found out that her best friend and maid of honor, who we will call Jenny, not her real name. So Jane found out that Jenny was going behind Jane's back and feeding her fiance information about her past with the intention of trying to sabotage her wedding. And she had a thing for the fiance, unbeknownst to Jane. Her best friend had a thing for her fiance, unbeknownst to her, and was basically trying to insert herself and get him to leave her. And so the fiance tells her, he showed her the text messages so that she knew the kind of friend that she was dealing with. And my client, Jane, many moons ago, she's in her early 30s now. So when she was in college, she stripped. And the friend went to the fiance, feeding him this information, thinking that Jane never told him and that he was going to leave her because of it. But Jane already told him. They started off very honest, and she said, this was my past life. This is not who I am anymore. This is what I did, and he accepted her, and that's the end of the story. Anybody can change. We can all turn our lives around. And so the best friend, or so-called best friend, was so dead set on trying to hurt her friend that she ended up hurting herself in the process. And that's what happens with a lot of these haters. They are so busy trying to throw mud on you that they don't realize that while they're throwing mud or trying to throw mud on you, they're actually sinking in the mud of their making. They're sinking in the mud of their making. Like a person stepping in quicksand, they are sinking in the mud of their making. And some will sink in the mud just to throw a little mud on you. That's how warped the mind is when the spirit of envy really begins to overtake your mind and you can't think straight. And so my coaching client, Jane, began to see seeds that something was off with her friend and just chalked it up to the fact that maybe she's a little jealous, but it's not a big deal because, I'm not going to be as available. The friendship is going to change because, now I'm going to be focused on building my family, starting my life, with my soon-to-be husband. And so she chalked it up to she'll work through this and we'll get past this and we're going to be fine. And this is before she found out that the so-called friend was feeding the fiance information, trying to feed the fiance information. And he nipped it and brought it to my client's attention immediately. So why do I say that she's cutting off her nose to spite her face? Jane, the friend of my client. Because so often when a person is in a hateful space, where they are trying to do harm to the object of their hate, resentment, or envy, they don't realize that there is a boomerang effect, that we do reap what we sow. You cannot go through the world creating havoc, whether it's mental, emotional, or physical, and think that that's not going to fall back on you. And so she cut off her nose to spite her face. So Jane was a good friend to her. Not only was Jane a solid friend, but Jane also helped her get a job. Jane was there for her through ups and downs, but she was so busy wanting Jane's life and Jane's man that she was willing to throw away a solid friendship, a solid person. Solid friends are really hard to come by. Somebody that that when your name comes up in rooms, they're not gossiping. They're actually defending your name. They're not going to let nobody talk about you. If somebody talks about you, they get mad like they're being talked about because that's how much love and loyalty they have for you. Someone that's going to rejoice when you rejoice, mourn when you mourn. When somebody hurt you, they take it personal like, dang, they hurt me. That's how much I love you. Like, I'm mad. Let's go. Where we pull it up. And when you have somebody like that, You got to appreciate it. And so often you will find that as you begin to be blessed in your life, you're going to have some friends who are going to be team blessing. I'm excited. I'm rejoicing with you. There's no ounce of I'm hating on you. Like, they are all in excited for you. And y'all are like sisters or brothers or brother and sister, whatever the dynamic is. But then there are also going to be a portion of people who ain't going to be happy when you're blessed, to the point where they will cut off their own nose to spite their face. And so this young woman cuts off the friendship with Jane, because it is a cut. Because when you're betraying someone, that's a cut. Because when that person finds out, the friendship is ruined. So she cut off her nose to spite her face. So you're trying to spite your friend who's about to get married, and you end up losing the friendship. And not only did she lose their friendship with that one friend, but once the other girls found out, you lose all of them, because people are going to be leery of wanting to be around you. Because if they know that Jenny is feeding Jane's fiance negative information with the sole purpose of trying to break them up so that she could get in where she fit in, the other women are going to be like, if this is your idea of friendship, I'm good. I don't want no parts of it. Sail on. See you when I see you. And so we do ourselves a disservice when we are not good to people who are good to us. We do ourselves a disservice when we allow the spirit of envy. And I talk about that a lot because it affects so many facets of our lives. And it's one of the number one subjects that I get letters about. So many of you write in with scenario after scenario. I can't even tell you how many emails and letters I have about situations having to do with envy or haters. And I think oftentimes we don't delve into the mindset and the effects of this, and we're carrying things that have hurt us. We're carrying betrayals, and we're not able to heal. But when we can understand why people do what they do, and we can begin to understand, how to recognize certain things and how to shield ourselves as best as we can, then we are better able to move on with hope, to move on with strength, to move on, not allowing the hater to make us bitter just because they were bitter. Misery loves company. Don't keep company with misery. Misery loves company. And so that person was miserable with their own life, and they wanted you to be just as miserable. Don't keep company with misery. That doesn't mean that you don't use wisdom, right? Somebody stab a knife in your back. It would be foolish to be like, okay, hey, go to my house when I'm not home and be around my fiance. That's ludicrous. So you need to use wisdom. And part of the wisdom may be that you decide to come out from among them, that you decide to sever that relationship. And you can sever a relationship without hate, without letting that hate get in your heart. You just make a clear decision. We have nothing in common anymore. I see how you get down. I don't need you to explain it to me. You done did enough explaining. You did enough talking to my fiance for the both of us. So there's no need to explain. I wish you the best. You take care. And that's the end of it. That's the end of it. You'll need to argue. You don't need to be fighting. You don't need to be in the gutter with this other individual. Make a clean break. That's the problem. People do not know how to make clean breaks. When you make a clean break, you shake the dust off your feet. You shake even the residue. You shake the dust off your feet. So do understand that you will encounter people who will cut off their nose to spite their face, but everybody is not like that. So it is so important, and you'll hear me say this in all of my videos having to do with haters and envy. Do not let the fact that there are some bad apples make you think that the whole bunch is spoiled. If you are a wonderful person, you cannot be the only wonderful person in the world. So if you are a good-hearted person, then that has to mean that there are other people, and like attracts like. And so eventually you are going to attract your tribe. Nobody's perfect. We all fall short of the glory. Everybody may have their own little quirks and personality temperaments that could be a little annoying. You're never going to find somebody where everything lines up and you're just, you're carbon copies of each other, because people are unique individuals. But as long as the main things are there, loyalty, integrity, those kind of things, you have the raw materials to work with. And so I'm going to share a scripture that I think really hits this point home when you come into contact with a person who will cut off their nose to spite their face. So they will make a cut in the relationship, meaning so busy trying to cut you. And I'm not talking about a physical cut. I'm talking about they're trying to cut you with gossip. They're trying to cut you with backstabbing. They're trying to cut you with some sort of negativity, saying little things to harm your self-esteem. They're so busy trying to cut off their nose that they don't realize that they spite their face. They lose a good thing in the process. They lose a good friend. And that is not easy to come by. You have a person who's emotionally balanced, treat you good as a friend. They care about you. They concerned about you. That's a gem. You hit the lotto. You hit the lotto in friendship. And you want to appreciate and value that. And be giving in that situation so that it is a reciprocal relationship with both of you giving to each other. And so the scripture I want to share comes from Proverbs 26:11. Now this is a rough one, but it's befitting here. Proverbs 26:11. And it says, as a dog returns to its vomit, so a fool repeats his folly. This ain't the first time. And so I had said to my client, this is not the first time. I was like, this is not the first time, because we know people by their fruit. And fruit always starts out as a seed. And I want you to really do your due diligence mentally and think back to, were there any other times in your life where you saw seeds of envy, seeds of betrayal, seeds of disloyalty within this friendship, and you may have overlooked them? And so Jane says, oh my gosh, when I got her the job. And then she went into the details of that story. And she said, I got her the job and she got cool with one of the other supervisors, and some things came up about my past, and she says she slipped, and she, and we got past that. I said, So you know people by their fruit, right? Fruit is what we produce through our actions and our habits. So she showed you the fruit of betrayal and backstabbing after you got her the job. See, when people show us who they are the first time, it is our responsibility to believe them, right? Maya Angelou says, when people show you who they are, believe them. I'm going to add, when people show you who they are, don't just believe them, treat them accordingly. That doesn't mean be nasty. I want to be very clear. That doesn't mean be, it doesn't mean be immature. It means be aware of the type of person you're dealing with, and you have to keep that in mind in your interactions. So if you know that you're dealing with a gossip but you have to work together, you don't got to be nasty calling a gossip out their name. No, but what you do know is, because you cannot trust them with confidential and proprietary information, you cannot share personal things with them. You cannot disclose what's happening in your life, because you know that they are a gossip. And I'm using gossip, but it can be something else. And so there are always seeds that indicate the fruit that is going to grow. And so my client started to cry. She said, oh my gosh, it was there all along. And then I said, I want you to, and then I gave an activity to do. So I said, I want you to write down some of the ways in which you saw these seeds. And we did a whole activity with the seeds and the fruit. And as she wrote it down, it was really hard for her, because she began to see that the person always had envy towards her early on. See, the Bible says, as a dog returns to its vomit, so a fool repeats his folly. And so this friend was a fool. And you may think the language I'm using is harsh, but this is language from the Bible. The Bible has a lot to say about fools. A fool is someone who lacks wisdom. A fool is someone who despises wisdom. It is not wise to mistreat somebody who's good to you. So the friend was behaving like a fool. Jane got her the job, and she foolishly thought it was okay to trash talk her and spread her private business in the job, and then claim it was a misunderstanding. No, Jane, you didn't misunderstand her. You understood perfectly well. But sometimes when our heart wants what the heart wants. She had time in with this friend. They had been friends since college. So they've been through some ups and downs together. And so it's not easy. It's not always easy to have to come out from among someone who you've known a long time. Only you can determine when it's necessary. I can't make that determination because it's your life. So like a dog that returns to his vomit. So think about the analogy that the Bible is giving you. Imagine a dog vomiting, right? Because the dog ate something bad. And then the dog goes back to the place where it vomited to smell the vomit. Does that make sense? The vomit smells putrid. And so this is a strong analogy, like a dog returning to the very thing it spit up. A fool will repeat his folly. And so when you are dealing with a person who is a fool, and a fool does not necessarily mean that they lack intellectual knowledge, that they lack degrees, that they lack book smarts. No, a fool lacks wisdom. And so when you look at how a person is moving, is it wise to backstab somebody that had your back? That's not wise. Is it wise to throw somebody under the bus who's always showed you care, concern, consideration, and shown you nothing but kindness and love? That's not wise, because you're burning a bridge. You may need that person again, and you got to be careful of the toes you step on today, because they may be connected to the hand you're going to shake tomorrow. You got to be careful. And so this friend behaved very foolishly because she threw away a solid friend to try to get with her fiance. And oftentimes this happens. This happens. And so know that as you begin to be blessed, and for this client, her blessing came in the form of planning for a wedding. So the blessing might be for you a promotion. It might be that you took an exam and you aced the exam. It might be you got your first apartment. It might be you furnished your apartment. It's going to look different for each person, right? It could be you got clean and sober. So as you begin to get blessed in a particular area of your life, do know that there are going to be some awesome people who are going to champion you, and they're going to be excited for you, and they're not going to hate on you, because everybody is not a hater. I can't say this enough. So do not be paranoid. Be discerning. There's a difference. So everybody is not a hater. And think about it. If you are not a hater, then that means there have to be other people in the world who are not haters. Everybody's not a hater. But when you start to see seeds of hate, resentment, and envy, you must pay attention to the seed. And you must be clear that you're not calling a thorn bush a grape, right? So the scripture says you will know them by their fruit. Do men gather grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Think about it. A thorn bush has thorns. A thorn will prick you. And if you're trying to get a grape will feed you from a thorn bush. You're going to be disappointed and discouraged each and every time. And so my client was trying to get friendship, right? Which is a grape, because a friendship feeds you. It feeds you support. It feeds you loyalty, if it's a solid friendship. And so she's trying to get a grape from a so-called friend who clearly showed her that she's a thorn. This friend pricked her on the job, and then pricked her whole entire wedding preparation as she was preparing, for her wedding. And so you got to be clear when you see a thorn. Respect the fact that it's a thorn, and don't try to make it a grape. So you want to be clear about that. So with that being said, understand that there will be some people who will cut their nose to spite their face. But you know that you are blessed, you are moving forward, and even if they cut their nose to spite their own face, in the grand scheme of your life, their loss. In the grand scheme of your life, it was their loss. You remind yourself of that. You are a walking blessing. And so if they chose to fumble the blessing, their loss. With that being said, I want to remind you that we are on our soul fast still. It is not too late. I know we're in a few days deep, But I always say better late than never, better to do some of it than none of it. So if you want to join the Soul Fast, pick up the Soul Fast workbook. The links to get the book are in the video description box. Also, they're pinned as a comment, and you can join the Soul Fast. I'm going to link the Soul Fast video that explains what the Soul Fast is. So you got to watch the video, and it's going to break down what the Soul Fast is. For those of you who are interested or have questions about the Soul Fast, they'll be answered in that video. So what we're doing is, during the season of Lent, very quickly, we're taking out 40 days to detox from negativity. We're fasting from negative thoughts, negative emotions, negative choices, and even some negative relationships, working from my book, The Soul Fast Workbook, during this season of Lent, as we prepare our hearts and our minds for the passion, the resurrection, the crucifixion, actually the passion, crucifixion, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. So as we prepare our hearts and minds for that, we are fasting. And there are 3 components to the fast, broken into 4 modules, but it's all outlined in the Soul Fast workbook. So the book will guide you through it. So I want to remind you of that. I want to invite you to become a channel member. There are some great perks that come with channel membership. If you want to get access to the Church by Phone recordings, you got to be a member to do so. So Church by Phone, the live Sunday service, is always free, always open to the public, and anybody and everybody is welcome. But if you want the actual recordings after the fact, that happens through channel membership. There are 3 tiers of membership. So when you click on the join button, read through the tier so that you can select the tier that's right for you. And there's a tier of membership where you get a monthly devotional ebook. So you can read through the tiers to see the different offerings to select the tier that's right for you. If you are not ready or able to become a member at this time, you are always welcome to join us for Church by Phone each and every Sunday. Again, always free to the public, always open to the public. You are always welcome to enjoy the free videos that are here on the Cassandra Mack channel. And let's see, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, so we have a new book out under the Simple Prayers book series, and it is Simple Prayers to Pray to Tame Your Inner Critic. So if you are the type of person that you find that you think like negatively, and you say things to yourself like, I'm so stupid, I'm never going to get ahead. And we all struggle with negative thinking. The mind really is like a battlefield with negative defeating thoughts battling for our time and our attention. And so this book takes you through prayers and scriptures to help you renew your mind and cast down imaginations so that you can turn your inner critic into your inner coach. It is available at Amazon. So with that being said, have an amazing day. Take care of yourselves and each other. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell a friend about a video. If these videos are helping you, tell somebody else, share the video. Let these videos spark conversations. So with that being said, I'll see you in the next video.